Dear Amanda, in Monday's letter, you expressed concern about how we're going to have to get used to the fact that our kids aren't always going to be better off than we are. This immediately made me think of our kids and how we're going to have to raise them knowing that they're probably going to have access to fewer resources and opportunities than we have. I definitely think you're spot on that it's very important to think about what kind of life we can expect for our kids while also considering what kind of impact that lifestyle has on the broader world. I fully agree with you that the tendrils of unhindered capitalism have grown far and given us many benefits. But the truth is that plant is going to starve itself out. I fully agree that this will likely be driven by climate change, drastically changing how we interact with the world. Eventually, because of that or whatever else happens, we're going to have to deal with the fact that the scarcity of resources is going to result in us not being able to experience the same economic growth that we've come to expect and depend on. There's a theory that if every single human being on the planet wanted to maintain the same lifestyle as the average American, we would need an additional 3 Earths worth of land to sustain those lifestyles. That's a statistic that has always stuck with me. The only reason we Americans get to enjoy such a lavish lifestyle is because we have such a disproportionate share of the Earth's resources, and that's often largely driven by cheap labor from other countries. And even with that, with our roaring economy that just doesn't seem to stop growing, people's lives fall apart the minute it does. As it is, nearly 40% of Americans would struggle to afford to pay an unexpected $400 expense. Not even considering that if the economy were to shrink, if it even just stops growing for a little while, that can be ruinous for millions of Americans, even though we live in one of the wealthiest nations in the world. This makes me concerned for even things like the FIRE movement, which mostly relies on you being able to amass enough investments that the growth of the economy will provide enough passive income that you'll be able to sustain whichever lifestyle you prefer outside of work. I share your fears that this means that our kids will have to make even more concessions about their lifestyles than we have had to meet this growing scarcity of resources. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of potential for us to show them how to live a rich life despite these limitations. Do you remember during InterVarsity Winter Conference of 2013 when we got to hear from author Mark Scandrette? You know this already, but he's the author of a book titled Free: Spending Your Time and Money on What Matters Most. Writing this letter to you has actually made me want to go back and check that book out again. I remember it being incredible. During our conference, Scandrette had some amazing presentations about how we could use the resources we had been blessed with to live a sustainable and fulfilling life. I think that was the first time I really took a hard look at our lifestyle and had a thought through what we could be doing to make it more sustainable or graceful, even though we were just broke college kids living on campus at the time. It was actually at that conference that you and I decided to become weekday vegetarians because we learned about how unsustainable the meat industry is in the United States. Of course, we still enjoyed meat often when we would go out to eat or go to family's house on weekends, but the goal was to only eat vegetarian while we were in our house. Even though we're not quite that convicted anymore, I'm still really proud that we eat 1 to 2 vegetarian dinners a week, in addition to some other vegetarian meals mixed in for breakfast and lunches. At the conference, we learned how to be intentional with our money, optimizing for transportation and housing costs, and making sure we only spent money on the things we absolutely needed. These are the things I'd love to pass down to our boys. Things like, even though we're 5 humans and 5 animals in a 1,100 square foot house, if we optimize and make sure we only hold on to the possessions that actually make us happy, we have more than enough space to be comfortable. Or just to understand how expensive and unsustainable it is for the massive capitalist machine to give us such a large selection of food. We can tell them why we decide to support community-supported agriculture or grow our own food in our backyard. Even though it gives us less choice, it's locally grown, more sustainable, and oftentimes healthier. Or even something as simple as why we decided to install solar panels to offset our energy usage. But most importantly, I'd love to teach them to have an appreciation for what they truly enjoy. Chances are, they probably won't enjoy the rat race, chasing the next big thing. I definitely know you and I don't. I'd love to show them that they should instead chase their passions and whatever gives them joy, optimizing their time and money around whatever it may be. Maybe it's hanging out with friends for movie or game nights. Maybe it's a creative project like writing a book or developing a game. Or maybe it's something entirely different. There are so many things that we can do to give ourselves immense joy while also still allowing for a sustainable lifestyle. I think a big part of this is going to be to show them that there are a lot more valuable contributions you can make to society than just working a cushy corporate job. I believe that we were built for more than just earning as much money as we can and then spending all of it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with working a more modest job that maybe won't pay as well as something that would demand more of your life. Or maybe they could even consider working part-time in exchange for more time to work on whichever passion that they have. I was definitely raised with this concept that I need to pursue whichever career would provide me the most financial benefit. I remember in high school, I was pretty divided on whether or not I wanted to go into software engineering or pursue teaching. I ultimately decided on software engineering because my dad sat me down and talked with me and showed me the statistics on how much money teachers make compared to engineers. Back then, it made so much sense to me that I would just go for the job that earned me more money. To this day, I definitely still wonder if I made the right choice. Thankfully, I definitely enjoy working as a software engineer, and I was able to find other outlets for my desire to teach. If I could go back in time and change one thing, I just wish that decision wouldn't have been built on the idea of which career path gave me more money than the other. Even though there's a lot to be worried about going into the future with the sustainability of our lifestyles and as a broader country as a whole, I have a lot of hope for the next generation. I do think I see society moving away at least a little bit from the rat race and chasing the next big thing and glorifying massive amounts of wealth. And I think a large part of that has been the internet and the ability for people to connect with other like-minded people that may not have massive amounts of wealth or massive networks to be able to get out their thoughts. It just makes me incredibly hopeful to know that there are so many other people out there in the world who feel like you and I and want to enjoy life without serving the dollar. That they want to strive to find what truly makes them happy in life while also making sure that their lifestyles don't exceed what is sustainable. I'm definitely excited to see what they can discover, and moreover, what our kids might discover as they grow up. Love always, Ryan.